It began with a missing person when 22-year-old Noah Grayson vanished from the quiet mountain town of Ash Hollow. The entire community was shaken. Noah had been last seen heading toward the desolate Black Vale Forest, an area locals avoided due to rumors of ghostly apparitions and unnatural silence. The town's sheriff, overwhelmed with fear, refused to search the forest. "You don't enter Black Vale unless you're looking to disappear," he warned. But Lydia Grayson, Noah's older sister, refused to sit idle. With nothing but a flashlight, a compass, and her brother's last text message, "I think I found it. It's here, Lydia," she set off to find him. Lydia entered the forest under a gray sky, the thick canopy quickly swallowing her in darkness. The deeper she went, the quieter it became. No chirping birds, no rustling leaves, just an oppressive, suffocating silence. Her compass spun wildly, refusing to point north. She began to notice strange symbols carved into the trees, circles with jagged lines radiating outward, all converging toward the forest's center. As the hours passed, she realized something unsettling. Her flashlight never dimmed, even though it should have been close to losing power. And then she saw it, a crude wooden effigy dangling from a branch, made of twigs and bound with what looked like human hair. Beneath it lay Noah's phone, its screen cracked but still faintly glowing. The last message on the screen read, "It's following me." Determined to keep going, Lydia pushed deeper into Black Vale. The symbols became more elaborate, the carvings pulsating faintly with a reddish glow. Then the whispers began. At first they were indistinct murmurs like wind through the trees, but soon they grew louder, forming fragments of words. "I'll turn back. Leave now. You'll never leave." Lydia called out for Noah, but the whispers only mocked her, repeating her cries in distorted tones. Her flashlight began to flicker as the forest twisted unnaturally around her. The path seemed to move, leading her in circles. Then she saw something that made her blood run cold. A second effigy, identical to the first, but this time it had strands of Noah's hoodie tied into its frame. After hours of wandering, Lydia stumbled into a clearing. At its center stood an ancient, decrepit church. Its steeple tilted dangerously, and its rotting doors were marked with the same symbols she had seen in the forest. She hesitated, but then she heard it. A faint, muffled scream coming from inside. She stepped into the church, her every nerve on edge. The interior was worse than she could have imagined. The pews were covered in black mold and the air smelled of decay. On the altar sat a crude stone idol with hollow eyes that seemed to watch her. Beneath it was a dark pit that led downward, its edges lined with claw marks. The screams echoed again, louder this time. They were unmistakably Noah's. With trembling hands, Lydia lowered herself into the pit, her flashlight illuminating a steep, spiraling tunnel. The walls were lined with bones, some human, some unrecognizable. The whispers returned, louder and more menacing. "You don't belong here. It's too late." As she descended, the air grew colder, and the tunnel began to twist unnaturally, defying logic. Her footsteps echoed, but the sounds didn't match her pace. She turned her flashlight upward, only to see that the entrance to the pit was gone, replaced by solid rock. At the tunnel's end was a vast cavern. In its center stood a massive tree, its roots writhing like serpents. Noah was there, bound to the tree by ropes of shadow that seemed alive. His eyes were wide with terror, and his mouth moved silently, as though screaming without sound. Lydia stepped closer and the ground began to shake. From the shadows of the cavern emerged a towering figure, cloaked in darkness. Its face was obscured, but its eyes burned like embers. and its voice was a guttural roar. "Why have you come here? He is mine now." The creature raised a clawed hand, and Lydia felt an invisible force constrict her chest. Gasping for air, she fell to her knees, but she refused to give up. She screamed Noah's name, her voice cutting through the suffocating silence. The creature recoiled as though her defiance wounded it. "You cannot take him," it snarled, "unless you trade a soul for a soul." Lydia realized what it wanted. The creature would only release Noah if she offered herself in his place. Tears streaming down her face, she looked at her brother, who shook his head violently, silently begging her not to do it. "I won't leave you here," Lydia whispered. "I won't let it take you." She stepped toward the tree, and the shadowy ropes began to unravel from Noah, snaking toward her instead. As they wrapped around her arms and legs, the creature's laughter filled the cavern. "You will remain here for eternity." Noah was freed, collapsing to the ground as the cavern began to shake violently. Lydia's last words to him echoed through the chaos. "Run." Noah scrambled through the collapsing tunnel, the whispers now deafening. The symbols on the walls glowed brighter, their light almost blinding. He didn't stop running, even as the ground crumbled beneath his feet. When he finally burst out of the forest, dawn was breaking. But Black Vale was gone. The trees, the path, even the entrance, it had all vanished, leaving nothing but an empty field. Noah fell to his knees, clutching the locket Lydia had given him before she entered the forest. Her voice still echoed in his ears. "Run." Months later, Noah returned to Ash Hollow, unable to shake the horrors of Black Vale. He would wake in the middle of the night, hearing the whispers. The locket would glow faintly, and shadows would move in the corners of his room. One day he received a package with no return address. Inside was a single note written in Lydia's handwriting. "It's not over. Don't come back for me." Noah knew then that Lydia wasn't gone. She was still in Black Vale, and it was waiting for him to return.